Hi, all you market inventors. I'm here with a real Brad Lea. He's the CEO of LightSpeed VT, the host of Dropping Bombs podcast. He's also the masterclass teacher of the Closer School, and you are the market inventor of the virtual training market. Did I miss anything?
Nope.
Pretty cool.
I mean, there's a few things, but that's enough.
Yeah, that's good. So I'm here. We're here at LightSpeed VT's headquarters in Las Vegas, Nevada, on set, and I wanted to talk about this room. I mean, this is where you do a lot of content. Some of the most famous influencers have been doing their content here, right?
Yep. That's a fact.
Like who are a couple? Damon John's been in here.
Yeah, Damon
Tony
John, Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone.
Like the who's who.
The people you've heard of in that space, yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of people you've never heard of,
right,
which are famous in their space, but they're not really in the public eye. So
right.
we help organizations, associations, schools, subject matter experts, franchises, all kinds of people.
Yeah, basically, if you want to turn asses into assets, you want to be here with LightSpeed VT.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's nice, and that's your line. That's not my line. That's Brad's line.
Yeah, well, I just like to keep things simple. And when someone says, "What do you do?" You know, we turn asses into assets for companies, and in a lot of cases, you know, these companies are struggling and they don't know why. And a lot of it is because their team is not fully capable or prepared or educated or skilled.
Yeah.
So we solve that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'm going to start back at the beginning of the Brad Lea days when you're early. What's growing up in the Brad Lea household like? What was that like?
How far back?
As fast
See,
as you can ever.
I better get comfortable for this. See, this is more comfortable.
Okay, excellent.
Same angle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's perfect. It works. So let's get real, right?
Yeah. Growing up, it was kind of like, you know, we were provided for, but it was almost like we were left alone.
Right. 2
older brothers, an older sister, and me pretty much for the first half. But coming home from school, no parents were there. Wow. You know, we just did whatever we did. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, you know, but we were provided for. You know, I don't remember dark days.
Yeah. Well, so, like, growing up, though, like, your motivation, you're a very motivated person in what you're doing and trying to do. You never settle. Like, where do you form that? I mean, I feel like you're kind of born with it in a bit of a way. Like, you can't really teach that drive. Yeah. But there is time that there's experiences that develop it, like strengthen it for us. Like, some of those experiences? Can you remember any of those experiences?
In reality, it's more... I'm competitive with myself.
Right.
So when you're competing against yourself, it's easy to stay motivated.
Yeah.
Because you know you have more, you know you can do more, you want more. And when you put all those together, man, it's pretty easy to stay motivated.
Yeah.
It's when you're trying to compare yourself to other people get discouraged, number one. Number two, you know, their perspective is skewed when they're trying to compare where they are with where they are, or what society thinks is good. You know, if you just ultimately compete against yourself, you tend to stay positive and motivated.
Yeah, like, so it happens all the time, and I know you experience this too, with all the entrepreneurs you coach and deal with your clients. It's like, I'm sure you have some new clients that are just starting their brands, and they're like, oh, I want to be like Tony Robbins. I want to be all the way in. You're like, listen, he started off at this stage. Like, people are comparing themselves to the wrong things. Same thing with market inventors. They'll come to me and say, like, they want to be at that stage Brad Lea is, right? But how many years did it take you to get to this level?
Well, I would tell them to aspire for more.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
That's good.
And how long did it take me to get to this level? 50 years.
Yeah.
Because that's how old I am.
Yeah. It's
and really, you know, I think when you're born, you know, everything's kind of fairly equal, but it's those that realize or are smart enough. See, I had to learn everything the hard way.
Yeah.
If I could do it all over, the 2 things I would do differently for sure would be I would seek knowledge faster because, you know, I could have been a lot farther had I just realized there's people out there that could help and guide.
Right.
And then I would have invested money more wisely.
Yeah.
Like I spent so much money trying to impress people. If I had it all back, it would be impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's good advice, man. You know, we all kind of fall into that trap, and especially, you know, when people start making that first real money, you know, it's easy. It's easy to. You have friends that probably aren't your friends. There's a lot of people trying to kind of ride your coattails, so to speak. I mean, I've fallen into that trap myself. So let's talk about LightSpeed. Let's talk about your first market invention. Like, how did LightSpeed VT start? What did you do before LightSpeed VT?
Well, it's right before I was running a car dealership.
Okay.
And how it started is I had this buddy, he became a buddy, and he worked in the back, minimum wage. Good dude, worked hard, ethical, had a beautiful wife and kids. Everything was like, you know, beaver cleaver type of scenario.
Right.
Problem is they were making minimum wage.
Wow.
So I started just hanging out and I said, hey, let me show you how to sell and close and do stuff. So he went from making minimum wage with my tutelage to making 15 grand a month.
That's
and
awesome.
I just witnessed the whole change because I had hung around, you know, knew who they were for a little while before I even said anything. But afterwards, it's just like I watched them flourish. So I thought, I want to start a training company to do this.
Yeah.
I wanted to do more of that.
Yeah.
And so I quit my job and started a training company. And then I went out on the road to try to do the same thing and found it was very difficult. I was always moving around, traveling, living out of a suitcase, and thought, I need a way to do this better because it wasn't working like it used to.
Right.
So I did the research and I started to say, how did I get this guy to do it, but I can't get these people to do it? And I started to realize that I worked here and I was there every day and there was repetition. There was 4 ingredients ultimately that it boiled down to: good content, repetition, practice, and accountability.
Right.
And I had that while I was training this person.
Right.
And out on the road, I realized there's no repetition. I'm only saying it for a day and then I'm leaving.
Yeah.
There's no accountability. The managers don't even know really what I said.
Yeah.
So how are they to hold people accountable?
Right.
There was no repetition. There was no accountability. The only thing I had was good content.
Right.
So good content alone isn't training. It's exposing people.
Yeah.
So to train them, you need those 4 ingredients. So there was nothing out there. So I developed it for me to deliver my training and do my necessity mainly.
Yeah.
And so I developed it for myself and then ultimately found like no one else had anything like it.
Yeah.
So when they started seeing it, I'm like, I'll license it to you and you and you and you. And then they started using it for their clients, and then their clients would call and say, how do I get a system like this for myself? And that happened very slowly because I started 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It's just starting to explode and be accepted as mainstream right now.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
any company or subject matter expert that sells training or trains people that don't have something online, that's like not having a website.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you don't do that. But our system is the Ferrari
Yeah.
of doing it. And I'm the Picasso of helping people figure it out. The cool part, though, is I just reinvented our business model.
Right.
To where there are no more upfront fees.
Yes,
anyone
talk about that,
anyone
yeah.
can spin up a system. Well, because I automated it and made it to where the customer could do it. Before I had to charge big money because we had to do everything.
Right.
But I found that it wasn't scalable, and again, we were getting so many customers we couldn't keep up if we were doing everything.
Yeah.
So I knew it wouldn't scale, and so I said, listen, we need to change the pricing model. We only have services now. If you want our services, here they are.
Right.
But there's the platform, cheap, easy to use. All the instructions are inside. It's a training system, for Christ's sake. It can train you on how to use it.
Yeah.
So people spin one up, use it all by themselves. Everything's great. Most companies spin one up and call us because we're the ones that'll show you how to make revenue with it.
Yeah.
So that was a market invention almost.
Absolutely. So, and that's a great point. I mean, we talked about this earlier, offline of the series was, you got to keep continuously improving, right? You got to keep reinventing yourself.
Kick your own ass.
That's the process, right? It starts with the first pain that you identify, you just talked about, and then it's every time you get to a level when you get competitors and everybody else starting to see, hey, there's money there, right? Then you just keep iterating.
Yeah, but the truth is, we still haven't built what I wanted built.
Yeah, yeah.
In other words, 20 years ago, I saw way beyond where we are today even.
Right.
But when you're not the mechanic and you
Right.
the technology's not capable yet, you settle for what they can build towards that end.
Yeah.
If I could close my eyes and instantly make appear what's in my mind, LightSpeed would be antiquated garbage. But fortunately, my system would be antiquated garbage compared to what I would make. It makes everybody else look like antiquated garbage currently.
Yeah, what's wrong with training and learning management systems today? Like, what's the problem? Because this
They don't get used.
Yeah.
They don't get used and they're not effective.
And why is that?
And they get used improperly. Well, because again, I just mentioned the 4 ingredients that are necessary. Most learning management systems are created to host videos and give access to them.
Mm-hmm.
They're not designed to get someone to actually learn what's in it.
Yeah.
So it manages learning modules.
Yeah.
So here, put this here, put this here, put this here. There it is.
Yeah.
But this one is not designed that way. Mine is designed to be an actual learning system. I'm more worried about, do they understand what's in it?
Yeah.
So that now you have to factor in user experience. You have to factor in adaptability. You have to factor in accountability. You have to factor in, real-time notifications. There's things that you need to do. So it'd be like if I had an iPhone and you have a flip phone. And then people say, well, they're both phones.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a big difference.
It's a huge difference.
So and then you have to know how to use it, because we have a lot of customers on LightSpeed that, they'd be just as good on any other turd system.
Yeah.
They're using it the same way.
It's a perfect example of somebody that even has, say an iPhone, they don't even know how to use that. There's a GPS system inside there. You know, that's like a map. My not to tease him, but my father-in-law, we like, how do I get to this place and this place? Went to a gas station and asked for maps, right? And they're like, what are you talking about? We don't have any maps. And he's like, it's on your phone, dude. And he's like, oh, there's a map on the phone. But to your point, it's like, it doesn't even,
Good analogy.
Yeah, you got to be able to do that.
Yeah, so some of them aren't using it right, but that's the problem with training, is people aren't using it. That's the problem with current LMSs. They're not using it, and they're not using it right.
But they're also being, those LMS people, those companies are selling them on false promises because they can't even deliver. And sometimes they're promising on your market invention, but they're not even capable of delivering the actual learning, right?
Yeah, well, interactively, the way we do, no. They can host videos and let people play them, and they can track, who took a test or whatnot, but to create a full motion interactive experience that emulates what you would have done in real life, they're not capable of that. And that's really what you want to do.
So, okay, so what was the first sale like? Educating the market, how was that process for when you have a system, you have the technology in a place, you've got your product, now you're kind of developing the market, right? So can you talk about the first customer?
Well, just nobody believed that it was actually possible.
Yeah.
A lot of the times it was just a lot of knocking, demoing, building a relationship, finding out that, they're not even interested.
Right.
But they like talking and dreaming. So they didn't say no, but they didn't say yes, which is the worst.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So eventually someone said yes, obviously, and started using the system, and then it worked. That's the crazy part. Like, they gave passwords, and people that were training on LightSpeed were getting better trained than people that were training in their classroom.
Yeah.
Because the classroom was inconsistent. They weren't doing enough repetition. They weren't capable of having an individual remember everybody's name, everybody's progress, everybody's individual needs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So human being couldn't do it. So once it started working, well, then I started showing it to other subject matter experts, and then they started showing it. And now it's just like we're in a lot of places, in a lot of companies, and growing. We're about to actually start marketing.
Yeah.
We've never marketed. It's all been word of mouth, but we're about to actually start marketing, and hopefully we can reinvent the market.
Yep. Well, yeah, you're doing it. I mean, so.
Well, we might be trying to, but I say we'll do it when somebody describes their LMS as a VT system.
VT system, yeah.
Or an actual learning system. And you can't confuse the two.
Yeah, for sure. So when you were starting this, I mean, did you always have a strong point of view, or did you develop? You know what I mean, about the market you're developing, and even about yourself?
Yeah, I had a pretty strong opinion about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
And did that, you find that developing over time, you know?
You know, no, I think it's remained over time.
Yeah.
And that's what's important.
Yeah.
Because if you have a strong conviction in the beginning and then it sways over time, you tend to slow down and give up. But it's never subsided. It's always been strong. I believe it.
Right.
And that's why I say now's the time that it's really happening.
Yeah.
Like
Well, it is.
right now, if it would have been 20 years ago, I'd already be.
So all successful market inventors have confidence, right? Because to do a market invention, generally speaking, there's nobody in front of you. There's nobody's done it before. So you got to have the guts to be able to step off the path, right?
Yeah.
So have you always had this level of confidence? Like, and if you have or have not, like how do you develop it? What's some advice on how somebody can develop their confidence?
Well, I can tell you exactly how to develop.
Perfect, please.
First of all, most people, again, as we mentioned earlier, fear being judged. Now, why is that? Well, who knows? But humans are that way. We fear being judged. We fear. We worry about what other people are going to think. We want to be accepted.
Right.
All of that. So, when that factors into it, and people are insecure, what are they insecure about? You got to kind of reverse engineer it. They're insecure about what other people think. Now, why are they worried about what other people think? Because they don't want to feel stupid, right? So ultimately, when someone's insecure, it's probably because they don't like themselves. They're not confident in themselves.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So how do you fix that? Number one, believe it or not, you apologize to yourself. That's step one. You know why? Because for years you've been letting yourself down, especially if you're like a little insecure bitch in the first place.
Right.
Then you've really been screwing yourself
Yeah.
over for years. Now, if you had a friend that screwed you over, every time they came around, they let you down. They lied to you. They essentially harmed you often.
Right.
Every time they came around, what would you do with that friend?
A lot of people stay hanging out with that friend, but me personally, I would stop hanging out with them.
Right, but what if that friend is you? What
Yeah.
if you can't get rid of yourself?
You're right. You do have to apologize to yourself.
Well, what you do is you start to rationalize.
Yeah.
And you start to forget, and it goes into the subconscious. And subconsciously, you're not aware of subconscious.
Right.
That's why they call it subconscious.
Right.
You're not aware. So subconsciously, you very much are aware. And you're seething, you're pissed, you've been screwing yourself for a long time, and you're literally pissed at yourself.
Right.
But you don't know it. So deep down, subconsciously, you hate yourself. Well, if that friend came back, and you really liked that friend, by the way, you wanted to like them, but they came back and they apologized. And they apologized. And they swore they'd never do it again. And you believed them. What would you do? More than likely.
Oh, forgive him.
Give him another chance.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now what happens if the day after he says it, dicks you again?
Yeah, then you're walking away.
It gets harder and harder
does.
to listen. And that's the
Absolutely.
problem. There's a lot of people out there, I don't know if they've forgiven themselves and just kept procrastinating, kept letting themselves down. But the first thing to do to build confidence is, number one, forgive yourself for every dicky move you've done to yourself. And then secondly, start from that day forward after you forgave yourself, never, ever, ever let yourself down again. You say something, you do it. You keep your word. And then step three is you set small goals so you can start accumulating wins, whether it's getting up an hour early, whether it's, I'm going to work out twice this week, whatever your goals are, you start to set a whole bunch of series of goals with this newfound commitment that you're never going to let yourself down and screw yourself again. And then you start hitting those goals, little wins, because your subconscious doesn't know if it's a big win or a little win. It doesn't think like that. It's just recording everything. And it starts saying, oh, he said he was sorry. Now he's winning. He's keeping his word. Oh, look, he's doing the right thing.
Yeah.
You start to warm up again.
Right.
Your subconscious. And then your subconscious allows you to stand a little taller.
Yeah.
Sit a little
That makes
straighter.
sense.
And next thing you know, you start to realize, hey, I deserve more than I'm getting.
Yeah.
And then you start to think, man, I should do more to get more, because that's how you get it.
Yeah.
And then your subconscious allows
Yeah.
you to do that.
Right.
Because if your subconscious wants to sabotage you, they can rationalize. Your subconscious mind starts to rationalize.
Yeah.
Like Adam. You work enough, brother. Dude, you put in a long day. You don't need to make more calls.
Yeah, you don't need to go to the
Dude,
gym. You
eat
don't
the
need
donut, man.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a donut, bro.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you're some big flabby mess, and ultimately you can't get out of your own way, and it's because your subconscious is keeping you that way. Why? Because it secretly hates your guts for lying and all the crap you've done to it.
Yeah.
So make amends, and you start to remain or repair your confidence.
I love it.
And then pretty soon you start to get a lot more confident, and then you start to get a lot more intelligent, because with confidence,
Yeah.
you start to realize you don't know everything. And it's okay to say I don't know everything. So now you start to learn, and you start to speak, and you start to have your own thoughts and opinions, and those start to materialize, and then next thing you know, you start to learn yourself. And then you start to realize, oh, here is who I am. This is what I think. And now you're not afraid to say it. So then you start saying it, and then someone recognizes, wow, this individual has something to say. This person's smart. Next thing you know, you get more confidence, because now people are listening to you. Why are they listening to you? Because you had the confidence to say something. You've always thought that. You just didn't know you thought that. Why? Because you didn't like yourself, and you kept yourself dumb. I'm telling you, it's some weird stuff to think about, but replay this.
I love it.
Twice, 3 times, 4 times,
Yeah.
get that repetition in, and you'll start to realize, holy shit, he might be onto something.
I know you're onto something. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, so you get confidence by forgiving yourself,
Yeah.
keeping your word to yourself, more importantly
Yes.
than anybody else.
Yes.
Moving forward, set some wins so you get that. And then the third thing, which is the hardest, develop the ability to not give a rat's ass
Yeah.
about other people's judgment.
Yeah.
You start to love yourself so much, your opinion doesn't matter. And again, it's not arrogance.
Yeah.
It's, hey, I know I'm such a good person.
Yeah.
I don't care what other people think.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm good. And if you're that sure of that about yourself, dude, other people's opinion doesn't matter. And it does matter up to a point, but not to where you'll change who you are and what you think because of someone else's opinion.
And that's an important point. I think people confuse the difference of not caring about somebody else or caring about their opinion. There's a big difference of caring about their opinion or not versus caring about somebody else, right?
Sure, and then anybody that likes to debate will continue to come up with ways of twisting words about how it's said. But the point is yeah, you should care about other people's opinions. I do. I like when
absolutely.
people like me, but not to the point to sway my
great.
own opinion. In other words, I like me better than I need you to like me. I don't need you to like me if I like me.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I'm not going to go be rude and offend people. But at the end of the day, if someone's offended,
Right.
I already know I'm not offensive, or at least I try not to be. So I'd apologize, move on down the road, and people would say, man, why is he so confident?
Yeah.
Because I do what I say, because I'm a good person, because I help people,
Yeah.
because I'm convinced of who I am. And real good people in this world, they're not as prevalent as you might think.
Yeah.
They are out there, and there's a lot of good people out there, but there's also a lot of good people that will jump on a dollar over a relationship or jump on an opportunity in exchange for a relationship, even if it hurts you.
Yeah.
I always say, listen, if everybody's not winning, eventually you'll lose.
Yeah.
That's you. So like, I already know that. If we're all not winning, I'm going to lose.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't want to lose. So how do I not lose? I make sure we're all winning. So if you go into a relationship with that approach, I need everybody here to win or I don't win. Well, then that's a good foundation for a relationship, because most people will go in saying, how do I enrich myself? Regardless of how it harms anybody here. And then what happens is you start to get,
Right.
the fractures of life.
Love it. So,
Am I going too deep for you here?
No, this is perfect.
All
I
right,
want
just making
to. I
sure.
want to. We got.
I don't want to
we gotta
flip
say,
out your audience.
Just keep it going, man.
Yeah,
No,
but
this
your
is
audience
important.
might be just a little bit flipped out right now, going, "What is this guy saying?"
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think so. I think guys and gals are going to love it. We share some audiences. But my key point here is, and you said it right. It's having that confidence, knowing your own intent, what you're doing, trusting what you're doing, and knowing that your path is your path, and everybody else is going to have their opinions, going to be throwing stones and all that crap. And the reality is, you just can't care about that. That's just going to hold you back, right? And it makes sense. So, but with that though, I mean, you do listen to other people's advice, right? And I think that's a difference because you have a great team around you. So talk about building a team, like a great team.
Well, I might disagree with you a little bit.
Okay, sure.
Only because, my team's getting pretty big and it's hard to have a great big team.
For sure.
At the end of the day, my
sure.
team's getting better, but again, I had to learn the hard way over the years to where I'm starting to get a good team. For years, dude, I had struggles like every other business owner where I could not find good people.
Yeah.
Until one day I started to realize you don't find them, you make them.
Yeah.
And that's when I said, why aren't we doing what we teach others to do? How come I'm telling everyone they need to train their people better, but I'm not training my people better? Believe it or not, in the last year and a half, I put together a training system for our own company.
Oh, wow.
Because I just started to say, I don't want to be a fat trainer. You know what a fat trainer is?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to come out fat and tell you what you're doing wrong. So I thought I need to get in shape if I'm going to teach people how to get in shape.
Right.
So I started to train my people, and guess what? Holy shit, I'm starting to get a good team.
Yeah.
Isn't that a coincidence?
Yeah.
No, it's because I
not at all.
freaking actually started doing it right
That's
and
awesome.
doing it consistently. So that's the only reason I'm saying I don't. It's not because they're not. It's because I know the potential, and we're nowhere near that.
Right.
But we're going.
But you have the
we're on the
capacity.
way now. Yeah. So again, I will have a great team.
Yeah.
Right now, I got a pretty good team, and it's growing, and we're developing. And in the future, hopefully, I can say, bro, I got an unbelievable team. But training takes repetition and a lot of it, man.
It does.
Consistency, and then things change, so you got to change a little bit. Got to adapt.
So talking about the training system, when you're, under $1 million, to where you are now, like I'm sure you put in business systems, right? So like
I'm still under $1 million.
yeah. Sure. Yes.
I am.
Yeah. So then when we talk about,
Dude, I don't have 1 million customers yet.
well, yeah, if you think of it that way,
What were you talking about?
I'm thinking revenue.
Oh, yeah. What about it?
Yeah. So when you were in your early days, then like what was the first system you put in place? Like what were the first things you put in place to sort of systemize Brad Lea and what your reach was and everything else?
I didn't. We built the platform and knew how to issue passwords.
Oh, wow.
And customize
Wow.
it. So we literally, jumped and built a parachute on the way down.
Man, that's not uncommon though.
Yeah, but see, again,
Yeah.
I go back to I'm not afraid.
Yeah.
See, most people would be afraid to do that. I'm not afraid. Why? You can call it confidence.
Right.
I call it common sense. Like, I'm never going to be without a job.
Mm-hmm.
My skills are too acute.
Yeah.
They're too powerful.
Yeah.
If I quit right now, I could go to work 1 million places, make
sure.
lots of money, be comfortable, everybody's happy.
Yeah.
So I realized that. It didn't scare me to say, oh, I'll come back if I need to. Excuse me. Let me go try this.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, I wish I could take credit and be like, oh, it was scary, man, but I had to just dig deep and jump. It wasn't scary. I just did it. And at the end of the day, a lot of people won't do it because A, they fear being judged.
Yeah.
And they fear what might happen. And most times people fear the worst.
Well, and the other part is you don't know what you don't know, right?
True that too. Because again, if I knew what I'd known, I probably would have waited about 15, 20 years and then started a couple years ago. So I wouldn't have to do all that shit. But I'm glad I did. I can learn, I read contracts much better now.
Yeah, I was going to say your intellectual capital and IP you've built here is far advanced from anybody else. So and the network and everything else.
Yeah, and the relationships and the stuff that I've had the fortunate event.
You got a
in learning.
20-year head start on anybody.
Yeah. Or I'm still 20 years behind where I want to be, one of the two.
That's true.
Either way, you can
That's
accelerate
true.
either one.
That's true. Yeah, and to your point, it's even that doesn't guarantee success.
Like here's
regardless.
an example. Have you heard we only got 24 hours in a day?
Yeah.
Have you heard nice guys finish last?
Yeah.
Have you heard if you want something done, you got to do it yourself?
Yep.
Have you heard save your money?
Yep.
What else have you heard?
Oh,
'Cause
money is the root of all evil.
Money's the root of all evil.
What
so,
else?
So there's 5, and and it's all
Money
BS.
doesn't grow on trees.
Money doesn't grow on trees. They're all not true.
Yeah, for
You know
sure.
that?
Yeah, for sure.
Money is made of trees. first of all.
There's endless amounts of
Yeah,
money.
but these
out here.
literally are bad advice.
They're terrible advice.
So when your parents taught you to save money, what are you saving it for? Money's a tool.
Yeah.
That's like you being a wood chopper. I see a bunch of axes and say, don't use those.
yeah, right.
Well, they're a tool. Why wouldn't I use them? Well, you might want to save those tools unless those tools break. Why would those tools break?
Yeah.
Why not use all the tools at my disposal and grow twice as fast? But most people will be advised to save their money.
Yeah.
If you want something done, you got to do it yourself. That is not true.
It's terrible advice.
It's terrible advice. You only have 24 hours in a day. Not true.
Yeah.
You can literally pay somebody for their time, and that becomes your
right.
time.
Exactly.
So if I can make myself have 1,000 hours a day, do I have an advantage over someone who has just 24? Mm-hmm. Of course I do. I have 1,000 hours per day I can leverage. You only can leverage your 24, and you can't even leverage 24 because you got to sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can only leverage 10, I can leverage 1,000. Who's more powerful?
Yeah, 1,000 all day.
Okay, what you were taught, if you want something done, you got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Save your money.
Yeah.
We only have 24 hours in a
Yeah,
day.
exactly.
And we're supposed to figure out for ourselves, oh, that was all bullshit. So it took me a while to figure it out. I'm kind of like a idiot savant minus the savant.
Man, I'll tell
just
you,
an
it
idiot.
wasn't until my 30s, and I've got master's degrees, MBAs, all that stuff. I grew up in a very well-to-do, affluent household, and still was taught a lot of that same stuff. And the fact is, you're right, they're all lies.
But you also had white privilege.
I did.
I had
with
blue collar privilege,
Yeah.
which was none.
Well, and we talked about this, right? But my parents, my dad the only thing my grandparents could afford was to give him beet sandwiches for lunch. And my dad's 6'8", so you imagine every day in school, he's got these pink Wonder Bread sliced bread with beets between, because it's soaked. It's pink because of all the beets soaking through, and that's all he had to eat.
Pink sandwiches.
Bologna was expensive, right?
Yeah.
And and that's the kind of household you grow up with. So breaking from that, and to your point, to, being, one of the most senior people at KPMG for my dad, or just in general, that's a huge, quantum leap, right? So how do you do that?
Do you ever experience bias when someone says, because you always hear, oh, he's a rich kid. Oh, his dad was rich.
Yeah.
Like, I wish my dad was rich.
Yeah, all the time. And growing up that way, even in a very affluent area, growing up in Northern Virginia, I think 2 or 3 of the counties and at least the top 5 cities are the most expensive cities to live in the United States and the highest per capita. You're talking about McLean, Vienna, that area. And we were well off for that, right? And but I was lucky. My parents were very, in some ways, kept us down to earth. We always had to earn what we got.
Do you get any bias
But we
that?
get bias all the time. Like, oh, you're a rich kid, you don't understand, or this, or this, or this.
See,
You don't
now I
understand.
disagree with that also,
Yeah.
because again, you could have given me $100 million and I would have been here quicker.
Yeah. Well, if you were to ask me $100 or earn it, that question I know you asked on one of your last podcasts, taken me probably, I would say 15 years ago, I would probably said, yeah, I'll earn it. I probably wouldn't have known what to do with $100 million. Now, I'll take it all day, right?
Well, not only that, but you can learn from losing money just
Yes,
like
you
you
can.
can learn from earning it.
Absolutely.
So,
and you just have a higher altitude of falling, and if you can figure it out, you
Well,
can
did
figure it out before you hit the pavement.
You could have put 80 million in a bank account and just
Yeah.
let it sit there and done well.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, I agree. I am a believer is using all of your assets, and don't apologize for that.
If you have assets, you
Yeah,
could
that's
you
true.
could just have assets.
Assets. That's right. You could. And most companies do. A lot of them have assets.
More than they know.
Yeah.
Bigger the worst case it is too.
So, so we're talking about that, talking about the first business. So what was the first business? Like you felt like, okay, this is I've systemized this part of the business. What was that first area that you figured out?
Again, I mean, I still haven't figured it out.
Yeah.
There is no systems
Yeah.
to businesses. We lay out steps and processes. So I
Yeah,
guess you call
that's what
those
I'm talking
systems.
about.
But
Yeah.
well, for example, to spin up another system or to white label it
Yeah.
or to create content. Like we figured that out 20 years
Yeah.
ago. But constantly new technology, new cameras, new equipment, new background, new editing software, new trends, new platforms.
Yeah.
It constantly changes.
Yeah.
So when you've like at one point in time, everyone was using Flash.
Right.
And
yes.
we had the coolest Flash system on earth, and everyone told us, well, Flash is going to die, and you won't be able to do that cool stuff. So they started, basically trying to compete by making just crap, but they weren't using Flash. Do you know why? Because the big scare was Flash is going away.
Yeah.
So they didn't want to be caught on Flash.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were
And Apple
entirely,
and Adobe didn't want to play.
dude, we were entirely Flash based.
Yeah.
Okay. So to get off Flash and continue the user experience, people were wondering how we did it. We had companies that we used their tools to build what we built that wanted to do case studies on how the hell did you build it with that. So at the end of the day, I think the need to stay number one, the need to solve the problem better than anyone else solves the problem is this factor that drives these, I don't call them processes, you were, but it's only because they're constantly shifting. I always think of a system or a process as a constant.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I figured this out. This is what I figured out. Now we do it like this. Like McDonald's figured out it ain't about a cheeseburger. It's about a piece of real estate on a certain corner.
Right, right. But you're talking about sales systems, things like that. But to your point, you're right. I think a lot of people get caught up of like, oh, this is the way to do it. We'll never change this. This is going to stay there. This is going to stagnate. This is the way we're always going to do it. And that's where you get into trouble. Like, how scary was that for the team? Maybe it wasn't. But I can tell you a lot of entrepreneurs, even market inventors, whatever, would be freaking out if they had to go shift their entire technology platform from Flash to a totally new platform. I mean, that's a big technology investment. That's a big shift. I mean, what was that process like? I can imagine that would be.
See, all these processes. See,
No, what was that? Yeah, what was that like?
well, I mean, again, I wish I had all these excellent processes, but you just adapt.
Yeah.
So I
That's a
think when someone
process.
always says, what's the basic number one thing you attribute success to? The ability to adapt.
That's great.
And what was it like? It didn't seem like anything. It was almost like a gradual thing. Like, hey, Flash is going away. Oh, we better start building it this
that's
way.
great.
And next thing you know, Flash was gone, and we just kept going. So there was no like emergency. We weren't late. I think because we're ahead of the people.
Yeah.
We see stuff coming that we because you're the first, you make mistakes other companies don't have to make. They can see what we did wrong.
Yeah.
So there's still advantage to being the first mover.
Totally.
So I think that kind
No,
of
that was great.
made the transition a little easier.
That's great. So I mean, we all have bumps and we all have some dark days. We have a lot of bright days, but we have some dark days. What do you think was one of your biggest dark days? Like just going through the process when you're like, I don't know if this is going to work. I'll tell you.
Never.
Yeah.
Again, it sounds weird, but someone asked
okay.
me the other day on a podcast,
Curious.
how did you react when you hit rock bottom? And I said, I haven't hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, didn't you say you slept on the beach? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, well, wasn't that rock bottom? And I'm like, no, I was sleeping on a beach.
I love it.
Like, I'm serious. Like,
No, I love
it's
it.
a beach. How bad can it be? And first of all, second of all, I chose to sleep there. I didn't want to go home to my dad, look like I lost, look like I needed him. There was ego and bravado. I chose to sleep on the beach. It wasn't that bad. It's not rock bottom. Perspective tells me that is not rock bottom.
Yeah.
So when you say, was my darkest day at LightSpeed where I thought it was never going to work, or it might possibly not, never.
Yeah.
I've never thought it's not going to work.
Yeah.
I have been in situations where payroll was coming up in about a week, and if I didn't get $60,000 somehow, I couldn't pay people.
Right.
So it's the weirdest thing. I call it LightSpeed fate.
Yeah.
But every single time, clearly, or we wouldn't be in business.
Right.
Every single time, there was a deadline approaching. There was something where, hey, it's either we do this or we're done.
Yeah.
It's always come to
Love
pass. I've literally needed, and I'll say an example as 75 grand. I needed 75 grand in a week, and if I didn't get it, we had a major, major situation. 2 days before.
Done.
There's no answer.
Yeah.
Phone rings. Someone I talked to 8 months ago.
Yeah.
Hey, don't you guys follow up? We haven't heard from you. Oh, sorry, we've been sweating. You know, and at the end of the day, they're like, okay, well, we're ready to get going. So how much was it? I think we agreed on 80,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to wire that into your bank, and you know, we want to get started on Friday. We're like, okay, click, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
It happened over and over and over. But I never had a dark dad, days like that.
Yeah.
But they weren't dark. Like,
Yeah.
it's never been that bad. I've never had, and again, it's perspective, because I'm sure other people,
would lose their britches.
well, they would have
and-
quit after
yeah.
8 years.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
I let my car get 3 months behind where the repo person was out for my car, and I had to park it 4 blocks away so they
Wow.
wouldn't drive by my house and see it
Wow.
and take it, because I needed it.
Right.
But every time I got a little bit of money, boom, I'd get it caught back up. So I was never more than 90 days behind, but I was behind. Child support, I got behind. Why? I didn't have the money. Why? Well, because I wanted to keep going. Someone was going to listen to me.
Right.
I knew I had something. So like
awesome.
I knew what we were doing is better than the way the world did it. So that kept me going and kept me being willing to live that way.
Yeah.
But I could have stopped at any time, gave up and went and got a job, and you know, got my ex-wife to be quiet and okay, here's your money, okay, here's your car payment, okay, here's everything. Look, I'm just gonna quiet down and fit in my nice little, you know, 9 to 5, no stress, no pressure. But how's that any fun? I always say, bro, either you know, get in the game or take off the jersey.
I love it. Well, this is a good message for all those startup market inventors that are struggling to find 20 grand, you know, and they're like, oh, I need to have investors before starting
I
this,
didn't have any
you know?
investors.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. So so you just jumped in. How much money did you have when you started?
Well, I got my last check from my dealership, and I had probably 30 days worth of bills, because I lived paycheck to paycheck pretty much.
Wow.
And I just went and paid all the bills up for 30 days to see, you know, I have 30 days to go. I thought it would happen much quicker.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I gave myself 30 days to make something. Like, I got to make something. But I didn't have, you know, all these employees then either, so it was
Right.
less to be responsible for. But I quit, paid all my bills, and I had about 35 bucks in actual, like, left over. Now, again, I had a couple credit cards.
Right.
I wasn't like down to my last $35. You know, like you see all these gurus that they want to like build up this hard luck story.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
my dad left when I was 4. My mom left when I was 4. Well, not 4, 2. But she didn't leave. They got divorced. I mean, like, and people are like, oh, broken home, broken family. Dude, it was fine. We had Christmases. Like, everything was fine. Like, why do you try to make it so dire all the time?
Yeah.
I think that's to sensationalize their journey.
Yeah.
Well, to me, I think I'm here when I should be here.
Right.
And I'll bet you when I'm here, I'll think I should be even higher.
Right.
And I don't know if I'm one of those people that will never be satisfied with where I am.
Right.
See, some people say never be happy. I'm already happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like happiness, I've attained that a long time ago.
Yeah.
Now the question is, will I ever be satisfied?
Yeah.
I don't know. When I have enough to give anyone a lot of money and change life, like I want to be able to be so rich I can pass out $1 million a day to 10 different people that I think are deserving.
Yeah.
And that's what I do every day.
Right.
I just go live and run into humans. And if those humans are good humans, I'm going to
$1
bless them
million.
financially. Yeah, because there's
Yeah.
too many people out there with advice.
Yeah.
And the advice is wrong mostly.
Yeah.
And in a lot of times, they got their advice from someone who got their advice from someone who got their advice that was wrong too. So they really are convicted about that advice, but it doesn't work.
Right.
Like you've heard, all you have to do is put in the work.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, there's a lot of hardworking individuals out there swinging shovels and axes and hard labor work, and they're stuck in a trap.
Yeah.
They can't get out. Why? Because in their mind, that's all there is. That's what you do. You go to work every day because a job is better than no job.
That's right.
Well, I'm here to tell you that's bullshit. There are a lot of jobs that are not better than not working at all.
Yeah.
Okay? Don't do those jobs. And guess what will happen? If you will not tolerate those jobs, other jobs appear.
Yeah.
But when you think that's all the jobs that are, I mean, you have to take these if you want to live. And then you take these, you're stuck there now. You don't realize there's a whole world out there.
Right.
So I don't know, man. After 50 years and get my teeth kicked in, you know, you start to take things for granted. So a lot of things I've learned probably the hard way. Maybe my mind has a way of dulling the actual pain that it was. So now I'm like, well, I didn't have any bad days. But maybe looking forward, I had a bunch.
Well, and I think you've always, you know, we've known each other for a couple of years now, and you always have a great perspective on things. And I think that's one of your strengths is you're always seeing the, you know, silver lining and stuff, whatever you want to call it. But I think to your point is there's a lot of people that are saying, you know, well, what's your struggles? Lead your story with your struggles. And I'm like, struggles, like, they don't help you really, do they?
Struggles is I couldn't get into Harvard, so I went to Stanford.
First world problem, right?
Yeah. Well, again, my struggles, I don't even think I have any. I've had any growing up or anything. I was born. My mom and dad got divorced. I went to an orphanage. The whole group of us did, except the baby.
Wow.
And then my grandmother told my dad, "You better go get your kids, otherwise we're going to get shipped off." That didn't happen. He came to get us. Boo hoo, boo hoo. He came to get us.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
So it's like we weren't orphans.
Right.
But we were going to be. Big deal. So then we went back to my dad's, lived with my dad and my stepmom, who basically raised us. And my real mom was like, you know, 200 miles away. And, you know, we saw her here and there, but I lived with my dad, right?
Right.
And we grew up pretty normal, but I would say lower middle class.
Yeah.
And then my dad got entrepreneurial, started a couple businesses, started to win. We started to move up in the world.
Right.
Built a big house on the hill. And my dad's brother didn't pay for insurance. I don't know the actual story, but from what I hear, didn't pay the insurance because they wanted to save the money, and then someone got hurt. So they sued us and lost everything. And then my dad basically gave up, and now we were lower middle class, where it was almost like he just gave up. Screw this. Wow. And that's when I was about 16. But by then, I was already out and about in the world. I got kicked out at 16 years old because I wouldn't mow the lawn. And most people were like, oh, poor guy. And if I were a guru, I'd be saying, you know, I made it on my own. But at the end of the day, I was excited to get kicked out. No supervision, no more rules, no more being told what to do. Like, remember when you were 16?
Yeah, you didn't want it.
Getting kicked out wasn't a punishment. It was a freaking blessing. It was like, yes. So now people want me to say, oh, I was kicked out at 16. I dropped out of high school. I didn't get an education. I got an education. I was doing freaking college work in 10th grade.
Yeah.
I passed exams that put me in college. I'm smarter than most graduates.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, oh, I didn't get an education. Dude, I got 4 MBAs and 2 PhDs since.
Yeah.
I'll introduce you to them. They work over here. So I was like, why I need a PhD if I can hire a PhD?
Exactly.
Like, why I need one? I don't need one.
Just get a team of MIT people.
Yeah, I don't need one. All I need to know is, all I need is a vision. All I need is belief. All I need is confidence. And all I need is right perspective. And if someone can put that in order, okay, they're going to have a formula for success, because you don't need to be white. You don't need to be male. You don't need to be anything. What you need is the 4 things I just mentioned, 4 or 5 things. What did I mention? See, that's another thing I tend to do. Spit out gold, then forget what I said.
We'll chew them up on the after the post production.
Go back.
We'll throw
if
them
it's
up
4
on the
or
screen.
5, just here's a cut. Ready? The 4. Now here's another one. The 5.
We'll pull it up on screen just for like just a reference. So like.
See, I forgot you guys edit. I'm used to just capturing.
No, we're gonna,
up it goes. It is what it is.
We usually just try to keep it, right? So we're gonna keep it, and then we just might throw some text up there. So
Dude, they call me the real Brad Lea because I like to keep it real.
That's how we do too. So
I've had people come in here and they're like, "Can you edit that out?" And I'm like, "I can delete the whole thing, but I don't edit it."
Yeah, we don't like to edit either. But so it's perfect. So we've been talking about LightSpeed a lot. like dropping bombs. We just did a podcast. Like, what made you decide to start dropping bombs? Like, why dropping bombs?
Well, again, my mission ultimately is to get the knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it. Now, why is that? Again, because I gave my knowledge to a family and it flourished, and it was very easy to do for me. It wasn't that difficult. And I think if we want to live in a world more successful, everyone needs to share their knowledge. Success needs to be common. And in order to be common, people need to know things. So if my mission is to get the knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it, what better way than a podcast?
Yeah.
So one day I just said, I want to start a podcast because I get so many subject matter experts in here. I could sit them down and ask them a series of questions and just get gold from them, and then share it to anybody that's listening. Because I'm in a lucky situation. I get a lot of subject matter experts and bigwigs through here because of the technology. They use the system. So they use the system. They're in and out all the time. Well, I got studios. Why not stick 2 microphones, and when people come in that have knowledge, sit them down and expose that knowledge to my listeners.
And then it becomes a marketing platform for them,
Well,
too.
it turns out marketing for them and for me.
Yeah,
so
for
now,
sure.
So now I get people calling wanting to be on Dropping Bombs.
Yeah.
Like big people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I only film live. And they're like, oh, well, can't we do a Zoom? And I'm like, nope. I only film in my studio. So next time you're in Vegas, oh, you're in Vegas? We'll be out there. So it's just a steady stream of really talented, experienced people. Why not take that advantage, just capture it while they're here?
Yeah, that's leveraging with. Like,
and then turns out now people are coming in here for the podcast, which I didn't anticipate. But now they're like, hey, so-and-so wants to be on your podcast. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, absolutely. He's a big listener. I'm like, shut up. But anyway, long story short, I'd love to have them on. They come in here, first thing they do, the hell do you guys do here? And I go, well, funny you should ask.
Exactly.
And then they end up being a client just because they walk through and say, what are you doing here? So it did turn out to be a good lead gen tool as well. So if you guys are listening and you're celebrities, come check out what we're doing here.
Yeah, you guys are doing some cool stuff. So I guess.
Even if you're not celebrities.
So what do you do when you're not inventing markets? So I want to say one thing. Brad Lea's courage and just self-confidence and everything else, plus your ability to just stand up and just comedy. So last time I was here, you went up and did stand-up comedy cold for the first time. And you just said, screw it, right? You said, fuck it, right?
Well, what's the worst that can happen?
Well,
Nobody
you did
laughs.
awesome too, by the way.
That's from what I hear. But again, myself, never happy. Looking at it from a skill perspective, I didn't do very well at all for being a professional.
Yeah.
But for being a new person that's never done it, I did extremely well from what I hear. But I'm always looking at it from a different perspective.
Yeah,
I sucked.
Yeah.
But I did pretty good from other people's perspective.
Yeah.
But again, people say, oh, you have to have big balls to get up there. I don't understand why. Like, why do you need balls to get up and open your mouth and have words come out? The reason it takes balls is because most people are going to fear what other people think of those words. Mm-hmm. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't care what you think of these words. I went up and said things that I thought were funny.
Yeah.
And fortunately, so did everybody else.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if no one thought it was funny,
you're okay with it.
Well, what would have happened?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, right.
Nothing happened because they thought they were funny, incidentally, too. So it's like nothing happened either way. Like, who cares? Get up there and try it. I was dared to do it, too.
Yeah.
So that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Like, just get up there, grab the microphone, and say what you think's funny.
Yeah.
But guess what? Well, I think's funny when you kill dogs.
Yeah.
What if no one else agrees? We're in the same boat. Like, just get up there and say you think it's funny killing dogs. And guess what? If no one thinks it's funny killing dogs, move to another room.
Yeah, right. There's probably a room for you.
No,
somewhere.
I'm telling you, just keep saying it.
There's a thing for that.
Somebody's going to be like, yes. You'll have a whole audience filled with dog killers, loving your act.
Smacking puppies, next act.
Yeah, and then people in there laughing, and then they'll get the hate groups out there picketing. Oh, this is cruelty. Point being is, be yourself, be authentic. Don't worry about what other people think, and you'll attract the people that like you. And this is the biggest thing that I'm discovering now that I'm learning marketing, because again, I've been doing a lot of marketing research lately. So too many people want to stay vanilla because they don't want to offend. And so when you try to do a marketing campaign or an ad vanilla,
Yeah.
now just nobody's offended and nobody really cares.
Exactly.
So I don't want to say this because then I'll get a bunch of people to hate me. Well, that's incorrect. If
Yes.
you say this, you're going to get a bunch of people that hate you anyway.
Yes.
So don't worry about the people that hate you
Yeah.
because they're coming. Worry about the ones that won't,
Yeah.
because you're not looking for those people. You're looking for the ones that love what you say. So if you get up there and you don't say anything, you don't know who likes you, who doesn't like you. You're just lost. But if you get up and say, here is what I believe, and not worry about all the people that are going to argue with you, you're only looking for the people that say, that's what I believe too.
Yeah. Exactly.
But you have to say something for someone to be able to say, I agree with you, or run the risk of being disagreed with. And see, that's why nobody says shit.
Yeah.
That's why nobody says anything, because they're worried about what other people think. And if they disagree, now we're in a confrontation. I hate confrontation, probably because they have a confidence problem. At the end of the day, it starts to circle all the way back down to just do the right thing, be yourself, own who you are, love who you are, and just go out there and try to solve problems the best way you can. And guess what you're going to create? What we call commerce.
Yeah.
Because commerce, in my opinion, is a series of problems and solutions and
Absolutely.
an exchange for both. Like, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Totally.
That's
agree.
it. I don't know if
So-
I answered
so-
the question because I get off on a tangent.
No, that was good. That was good. So last question. Like, what's next for Brad Lea personally? What other projects?
Personally?
Like, what other projects do you have personally and professionally?
Well, I think LightSpeed's a stepping stone. Once I get this to a point where I think, okay, it's good to go, well, I would probably step off and start to do other things. I have other inventions and I have other goals in life, you know. So that's what's next.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Always a pleasure. This
Pleasure.
was great.
Yeah.
So thanks again. And don't forget to subscribe, comment below, and I'll see you next time. The real Brad Lea. Thanks, man. Pleasure.
Fresh.